Hey, budding lawyers, welcome to the podcast. Today, we are going to have a chat with advocate Tushar Behl. Tushar has been a Daksha Fellow specializing in dispute resolution and international arbitration. He is currently working in the dispute resolution practice and specializes in international arbitration as well as civil and commercial litigation. So, welcome to the show, Tushar. How are you?
Hi, Prasanna. Thanks for having me. And I'm doing good. I hope the same for you.
Yeah, doing fine. Me too. I hope your work didn't get much affected during the COVID times, right?
Definitely see, because of the COVID-19, work was halted, and a lot of which was concerning, how we had to adapt to technology. So that was about us lawyers getting adapted to technology. Moreover, when I graduated, that was the luckiest year of our lives. I graduated in the year 2020 when the pandemic actually struck. So I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot about resilience, I would say, for my batch specifically, and of course the coming batches that are coming in. But for us, it was a big shocker, and a lot of it was into transitioning into the new industry and adapting to the online environment and etc. So yeah, I'm sure most of us have been used to it now, and fortunately things are working well.
Right. But I was just wondering if, like, you was working in this dispute resolution and arbitration and stuff only, mostly from your start, when you started working after your graduation. So, comparatively with like those who were completely into litigation, especially criminal litigation and all, your work was not that affected with respect, like, if we compare to those litigators, right?
Yeah, so as I would reiterate again, my work, of course, started once I graduated, and
Hmm.
I graduated around August 2020, right after the pandemic had actually arisen. So basically, it was a lot of chaos everywhere. There were no jobs, and fortunately, I mean, our batch, we all were inclined towards dispute resolution, my class, to be honest. And fortunately, the trajectory of our internships helped us landing jobs even during the pandemic. So yes, every kind of work, I would say that every kind of work was affected during the pandemic. It's not about whether you practice corporate law or whether you are a dispute resolution lawyer or basically you are litigating in the courts. I mean, everything was hampered. So yeah, as I said, it was all about being resilient and adapting to the new environment.
And when did you take up this fellowship, the Daksha Fellowship?
So right after my graduation, I was fortunate enough to get a job at the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and it was a really great break to my career, a great start. And so during that time only, the fellowship came out, and I was already working at the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. So I just went on with the application and I fortunately cleared it. And although so that's how I made the best use of the pandemic year. Because of the pandemic, the fellowship, half of the fellowship went online, and because there was a lockdown everywhere.
Hmm.
So while I was working at the ministry, I used to simultaneously attend my classes at the fellowship. And the moment we had to go physically to Chennai for the fellowship, that's when actually my contract with the ministry was ending. So it all fell in line. And
Yeah.
I actually completed both in 1 year, basically.
Okay. So that was very fortunate. Like, you were very fortunate. It all came in line. So I guess the experience which you had when you went to Chennai would have been way different than attending online classes of the fellowship. How would you describe that?
Yeah, so being a North Indian myself, I was very curious about what would happen. And it's a new place, Chennai, and during even just the COVID pandemic has just started, and everything was going on with full swing. And it's basically when the first wave actually ended.
Hmm.
During January we had to go, and on New Year's I boarded my flight to Chennai. And it was all about meeting new people personally, and I'm that person who actually likes to meet new people. The best part about the fellowship was that we had a batch of people aged 22 years and people aged 40 years. So it was a very, very great cohort that we had, comprising of the top 40 lawyers across the country. And we had senior members of the bar as well in the fellowship as classmates. And I was the junior most there, along with a
Hmm.
few people. So I mean, it was more about, we were all excited about meeting new people from different backgrounds. It was more about exploring Chennai because, of course, I never went to South, and I was very fond of the South Indian food as well. So I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of which I had to make the best use of the opportunity, and it was all on my mind. So yeah, fortunately, we got get to go to Chennai, and definitely we spent 6 months there. So it was a really great experience.
Hmm. And how was the food then?
So the food, I would say definitely it was good because I used to like South Indian right from my childhood, and my mother used to serve me idlis, right? Being even a Punjabi North Indian, I was very fond of idlis and all those South Indian
Uh,
traditions. Basically, I was used to eating that food and I could eat it every day. So although my friends and colleagues at the fellowship had problems adjusting to the food, I pretty much liked everything there. So it was not a problem for me.
Great. Because yeah, I have heard like most like who are not used to eating South Indian food, are from the north side of India, they face a lot of problem because other like South Indian food is like very like obviously easily available. It's cheap there, and it's quite tough to find other cuisines. Like especially if you are Chennai is a quite good city, so you'll find that other like restaurants and stuff. But comparatively, you have to take some efforts finding right places if you want to have North Indian or something else.
Yeah, I mean, so I belong to Delhi. I reside in Delhi, and at every corner we have the momo stalls, right? So in Chennai, we had the idli and dosa stalls there. It was not really
Right.
hard to find the places there, but of course, a lot of tastes were very much differing here and there. So we had to explore a lot in order to choose a better place. But then, it was a great experience exploring a new city and professional development alongside.
Hmm. And you were there for around 6 months.
Yes. So the first 6 months we were at home
Hmm.
doing the fellowship online, and of course I was working alongside at the ministry. So I used to go to office, and in the later 6 months of the fellowship, we were in Chennai physically.
Hmm. So let's dive deeper into the fellowship now. What exactly, firstly, please tell us in a short, like those students who are new to this topic, who don't know what a fellowship is. So tell us what a fellowship is and how is Daksha Fellowship different than other fellowships. I guess this is the only fellowship which is available for like law students or lawyers in India, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. So basically, there's a difference between a LLM and a fellowship, and a lot of people get confused between an LLM and a fellowship. So basically, an LLM, as we all know, it follows a conventional curriculum,
Hmm.
and often it captures more recent advancements to the world around us. And similarly, it's actually does not prepare students to sufficiently navigate their career paths, because if you choose a specialization in an LLM, you are restricted to that, although you have a lot of career choices here and there. What a fellowship does is that it emphasizes on contemporary learning, basically. So there are new divisive methodologies, teaching methodologies. There is collaboration through effective participation, and there are different skill sets which the fellowship helps you to attain for career advancement. Over the above, it's also about building up a community of like-minded individuals with different backgrounds, and there is no set standard of the qualifications that every person has. A lot of which depends upon what your previous backgrounds are and what all you can contribute to the existing cohort. So it's basically, in the Daksha context, I would say the Daksha Fellowship, yeah, right, correctly. It's the first fellowship in law, particularly in India. Although we have a lot of fellowships here and there, the Lamb Fellowship and etc. But this was the first law fellowship, so it sparked my interest right there. It's different from a master's degree, and in the Daksha Fellowship, so it was ideally a residential fellowship. Because of the pandemic, we had to do it online for some initial 5-6 months. So The best part about this fellowship was there is no restriction about the age limit as to your application. So you could be a young lawyer, you could be a mid-career lawyer, or you could also be a more senior practitioner. It also encompasses public policy professionals and other graduates with a background in law. So it was not exactly restricted to lawyers as well, but definitely you need to have some sort of a background. So the fellowship's idea was basically to operate at an intersection of law, technology, policy, and business. So basically, it was in addition to giving us a specialization in our particular chosen field, we also had an opportunity to get equipped with technology law, policy, and business. So we had a lot of courses on that. We benefited a lot from the contemporary curriculum. So we had a lot of international faculty as well teaching us there in collaboration with the leading practitioners in India and of course industry experts. So that is how the fellowship was different from a regular master's degree. And also we had an opportunity to choose from three specializations basically. This was disputes, technology law and policy, and also regulatory law. So we had an option there as well.
Hmm. 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 And you choose dispute resolution.
Yeah, so my chosen field was disputes resolution, and after the application process, I was fortunate to get selected in the pathway that I chose.
Okay, so they had something like a specialization after like few months, or was it like from the start of your fellowship you are focused mostly on in dispute resolution only?
So basically, the first trimester. So firstly, this fellowship follows a trimester system, not a semester system, and
Hmm.
there were three trimesters basically. In the first trimester, what happens is that all of the cohort of 40 to 45 people that get selected, they study together and they study some common subjects. So basically, we studied, just to give you a slight hint of what we all studied in the first trimester, it was all about finance for lawyers, accounting for lawyers. We studied business accounting, we studied statistics, we studied economics, we studied public policy, we studied public law, we studied research methodology, etc. So basically, these, as you would understand, these courses are pretty much common and very much vital for every lawyer, no matter what you're practicing. So this is what we all did along with the verbal exercises and everything. So we had another set of exercises that we could do and courses that were common to all. From the second and third trimesters, so basically the class was divided into shorter groups based on their specialization. And for example, my disputes class had a strength of 15 people out of the 40 people that were selected, and the rest were distributed amongst their specializations. So we studied close to 20 to 25 subjects in disputes, particularly over the next 2 semesters, and that's how our curriculum was divided.
Great. Uh, it's like really nice to know that young like such opportunities are available, and law students like you and lawyers like you are aware of these opportunities to take it up, and you so that you get a step ahead in your early years itself. Like many law students don't get those, like, they are not aware of these things. And also the opportunities from few years, like from 5-10 years have been, for example, this Daksha Fellowship. It started a few years ago itself. Which one was your batch? Like,
So it started in the year when we all graduated. It started in 2020 only. So it's
oh,
been 2 years,
2020, 2 years
right?
ago. Yeah. Cool. Just wanted to, because there was nothing like this during when I graduated. I even didn't crack CLAT to take admission into a law exam or any entrance exam. I directly took admission in my law school on the basis of my semester mark, like the final year marks of my graduation.
Right.
So
So I mean, you could actually this fellowship. What I thought of while applying was that this could act as a bridging gap to the industry and of course a future LLM if I plan to do it. So I mean, it was a very great choice personally because it helped a lot of people, including me personally. in developing ourselves and our skill sets. So
Yeah.
yes,
It gave you a lot of practical exposure, if I'm not wrong.
of course, because the assessments and examinations which were conducted in the fellowship were not the usual exams we write in law schools. These were more about practical exercises. For example, we had a course on international commercial arbitration where we had a lovely professor from who's an Indian actually. He's working at Geneva right now, so he taught us that course. So the examination was not conducted at the end of the course, but it started in the first week itself. Every week we had to prepare a draft right from every stage of an arbitration to the end, drafting the final award and also arguing a case in front of a tribunal. So we did everything possible in arbitration that happens. And in every week, we were assessed. Simultaneously, in every subject that we pursued, we were assessed every day for that. And we had to, it was a rigorous exercise. So we had to submit numerous assignments and we had to participate in a lot of exercises for that and a lot of simulations, role plays. So it was all about the assessment part was all about, a constant assessment and not rather a written exam where you actually mug up knowledge and, just vomit it, just like we
Right.
do in law school. So, I mean, that was the best part about it, that you were actually assessing a person based on his performance, his participation in class, rather than just asking someone to write something on a sheet of paper. And that's how I tell you that it was a bridge between a foreign LLM and my industry experience, because that's the model usually followed in foreign LLMs, the Socrates style of teaching. So we never had professors who delivered the lecture and just went away after 1 hour. We had a discussion, we had a Socrates style of teaching in every class that we had in the fellowship, and it was more about hearing from the other fellows and what they think about, for example, rule of law and what access to justice means, rather than the faculty actually just putting on slides and giving that lecture and going away. So it was more about the Socrates style of teaching, getting to know what kind of thought process every diverse lawyers have. And of course, we had industry experts guiding us, but again, the mode of teaching was itself a lot more different and very much helpful for us.
So, can we say that this was like a good internship, but it was completely focused on training y'all rather than getting any tasks done?
Not necessarily an internship, because this academic program has a mandatory internship as well that you need to do. So it had a 6-month mandatory internship that every fellow needs to do despite your age. So you are a well qualified lawyer, and the minimum criteria for applying was even being a lawyer, but you had to intern. So that is something the fellowship was very particular about, that a 6-month internship is needed. And along with that, we also had a global immersion program with a foreign university based on our experiences. But unfortunately, we couldn't do it because of the pandemic. Otherwise, the fellowship actually planned a global tour to 3 partnered universities, so abroad, for a global immersion program for the fellows. So that was also a very great thing, a 2-week program, which we couldn't pursue. But definitely, the idea of the fellowship, and of course, what experiences bring to you, I cannot actually equate it to just an internship. It was a lot more than that, and it was all about professional development and you know how you get to be better day by day as a lawyer.
So, when you went to Chennai, you were also interning along with the fellowship.
No, I didn't take up the internship. Basically, the internship period was fixed, so in the month of April you had to intern. And
Okay.
apart from that, you had to be regular in the classes and at the campus. So we used to study and perform all the exercises, assignments given to us. And so it was a whole day affair. It was nothing like you just get a break and you get to go. The classes started from 8 a.m. and rigorously till 5. So it was we used to get the breaks in between, but it was all about constant deadlines, all about networking, of course, meeting new people, meeting new professors every day. We had guest lectures as well apart from the usual courses. So it was we used to be very busy in that affairs. And there was no time actually for an internship, definitely.
Got it. So after the program, do they also help you all with placements?
So, what the fellowship guarantees is that they would provide assistance in internships, basically, what they want you to do in the 6 months. Uh, a bit of assistance was definitely given with the placements at the end, but of course, the placements were not exactly guaranteed by the fellowship. So, personally, for me, it was my application outside and after the fellowship. And so they had a dedicated career services department, but of course, the fellowships were guaranteeing help and assistance during the internship phases and not the placements, to be honest. But of course, the professors were there, the faculties were there, and they tried their best, sitting with every fellow personally and getting to know their career trajectory, where they wish to go after the fellowship ends, and everyone helped in a way. So it was very different to every individual and every fellow, and the professors, including the career services department, were all there for you in whatever capacity you need help. So if it also means reaching a law firm or reaching an individual, the faculties were there to help you.
Okay, so let's move on to dispute resolution now. Like, you are working in this field. How is this field in India for lawyers? Like, are there enough opportunities for lawyers to fully focus on this? Like, can they devote completely like their practice into this field?
So, Prasanna, dispute resolution firstly comprises of litigation as well, just to clear things out. And a lot of people get confused whether, litigation is different and dispute resolution comprises of arbitration. So just making things clear, basically, dispute resolution is a very broad field which comprises of mostly everything that you do. It encompasses litigation, it encompasses arbitration, it encompasses mediation, negotiation, everything. So if I talk about dispute resolution per se, of course, there are a lot of opportunities out there, and it's very much the industry has been prevalent. And of course, if you don't have dispute resolution practitioners, you do not actually have a way forward with all the disputes that arise out of the corporate transactions and deals. So that's where the role of a disputes lawyer comes into picture, that, when a conflict, I would say a conflict arises because of a transaction between the parties, or if there is a dispute, that's where you step to negotiations firstly, and then you move towards any part of any mode of dispute resolution. So firstly, clearing things out, that it includes litigation. So of course, there are opportunities. Of course, you wish to litigate in the courts, definitely you could work in a chamber, you could start independently. A lot of young lawyers do this now. There is a Supreme Court clerkship that always, it's very prestigious, and a
Yeah.
lot of benefit, I would say, is given to a person if he or she pursues that particular clerkship, and it helps a lot in your dispute resolution pathway. So in my initial days as well, uh, I told you about my job with the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, but there is another catch to it. So the chairman of the committee was Justice Abhay Manohar Sapre. He's a former Supreme Court judge. He wrote the privacy judgment as well, and I was fortunate to be his clerk as well, working at the ministry. So it was a dual role, actually, working with a Supreme Court judge and also as a legal consultant at the ministry. So I got a taste of what a clerkship is during those 6 months as well, and I clerked with him, assisted him with his arbitrations and research. So it was, by all means, I could say, is clerkships are a way forward for young graduates to move forward this particular field. Definitely, there are a lot of new career avenues when it comes to ADR particularly. So unlike dispute resolution, I could talk about a lot of ADR career opportunities that are new right now. So there are particularly negotiation managers, crisis managers, conflict resolution professionals. These are a lot of new opportunities for young lawyers who wish to restrict towards just negotiation. There, of course, you could be a full-time commercial mediator doing accreditation course of 40 hours training, and definitely you could act as a commercial mediator. you could definitely become an arbitrator. These days, a lot of talk has been going on as to, the young lawyers have to be given that opportunity to become an arbitrator. So you could be an arbitrator, you could practice arbitrated related court litigation as well. So there are plenty of opportunities in this field, and it's all about exploring. And my only advice to the listeners is that you shouldn't restrict yourself when it comes to this field, because this field is huge and opportunities are plenty. It's all about exploring every possible area of this field. So yeah, though, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities to grab here in this field.
Yeah, so when you said that dispute resolution also includes litigation, it's not like it's completely separate. But I've seen some lawyers who work with lawyers who are litigators who are completely into litigation. And like for example, if they are working on some matters or with some clients, they'll handle only the negotiation part or mediation part, and the litigation part will be handled by another lawyer with whom they have teamed up, sort of. So is this a common practice? What is your
So
experience?
it depends. And this culture is pretty much common in law firms, I would say. So what happens is that the negotiation part, or basically not even the mediation part, it's just basically the negotiation part, which is ideally taken care of as in-house within the firm.
Hmm.
And definitely there are lawyers, there are senior counsels that you wish that they could assist you in those matters. And so what happens is that the law firms are actually assisting the senior counsels and briefing them about this dispute. And definitely the appearance is there from the senior counsels. You get to brief them, and they also argue your case. So it differs from case to case, I would say. Not It doesn't happen that frequently, but definitely what happens is that it actually depends on the case to case scenario. So if the stakes of a case are really high, and the client is advising you that we need a senior counsel along with your team, definitely we get to approach a senior counsel and brief them on that matter. But of course, a lot of matters could be handled in-house by the law firm only, and they actually appear before the courts. So ideally, it differs from matter to matter, and how big the stakes are in that particular matter, and of course, what the client wants in the end.
Okay. So this is a question which I always ask to all the podcast guests who participate in this podcast. Is like, please share an incident from your career which is very memorable to you. So it can be
Okay.
anything from your courtroom conversations with another lawyers or clients, or anything in your office, in your law school, maybe something like that, but something very memorable to you.
I mean, this journey is a roller coaster ride, we say, and there are a lot of memorable experiences. There are a lot of hardships as well that we all face. But probably I would like to share the most memorable memory was when I went to law school, and how I went to law school. So I call myself as an accidental lawyer, and I'll tell you how. So basically, I was a state cricket player. I used to represent Delhi under 19 in South Zone tournaments, and I did that. I encountered a slip disc problem during my class 11th high school, and I was a science student preparing for MBBS, and I had even joined a coaching institute, a medical institute, for preparation of, on the lines of becoming a doctor, basically. I was also interested in cricket, and basically got an injury, a slip disc problem, which put me on bed rest for 4.5 months. And that's when I flunked in every science subject I had in my class 11th. And my high school was so strict that, if you are not passing in those subjects, they actually ask you to change your streams. So right before the pre-boards come in during 12th, I had to shift to commerce from PCB. And joining commerce, learning accounts, business studies, statistics for just 2 months, and giving my boards, it was a roller coaster ride that started there only. And that's when I decided to try my hand at law because, of course, I wasn't really understanding commerce in the end. Although I had secured a good score in my board examinations, but that was all about mugging up things and vomiting on the paper. And I missed my CLAT examination as well because I got no clue as to what to do in life. And after all that medical preparation gone into waste, and cricket was nothing that I could do off now because of the injury that I had. Commerce was something that I wasn't really getting a hold of. So I tried my hand at law and saw let's try what happens there. I never gave CLAT, never gave any entrances. My father just knew someone who was there in UPS Dehradun, and she was a gold medalist there. So she recommended joining a good environment. It's in Dehradun. It's all hilly areas, and you love the place. Just went in and went to this roller coaster ride for 5 years. Uh, Earlier, I was also into public speaking during my high school. I used to do a lot of Model UN conferences. So I thought of mooting as a debate, and I actually lost my first moot in the very first year very badly because of everything that I was really, really, you have that urge, you have that uh, a lot of urge in you and a lot of motivation to beat everyone in law school during your first year, and that's how you get laid back. And that's how I got laid back. Started learning, devising new strategies, what to explore, how to explore. Tried my hand at every possible competition, wrote a few research papers here and there, completed law school life. And that's when the pandemic happened. And the best memorable experience would be that I got a job that people actually dream about after their retirement. I got to work at the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. I was
Hmm.
23 years old, and all my colleagues were 45 to 50 years old. I was the youngest legal consultant at the ministry. I got my office at the Ministry of Home Affairs. I used to sit in the office. I had an office to myself. That itself was a really pleasant memory, and that was actually something I used to dream about, having my own office. And it was a very really lovely experience, a very happy memory of mine, that after so many struggles, I actually got a job right after graduation, and it was a really good job. And the experiences that I had working at the ministry, representing the ministry in a lot of negotiations, a lot of construction disputes, conciliation proceedings, a lot of which that I was representing alone, of course, under the tutelage of Justice Sapre. That was the most memorable experience of my life so far. And of course, there are a lot more instances that I could share, but definitely for a lawyer, it's about where you start and how your start lies and what are your experiences behind coming into this profession and coming into industry. So I definitely consider that memory of mine breaking into this industry as one of the most memorable ones. And of course, my past that has brought me here today. So yeah, that is one good memory I have.
Great, great, great. So even after like having serious health issues, then failing in your first mood, despite you having experience in debating and stuff, but you improved and like you learned your lessons. And I think you are enjoying the career now, like the field now, right?
Definitely, I was very fortunate enough to get my hands on international law and arbitration right in my second and third year of law school.
Hmm.
And because of my avid interest in mooting and ADR competitions, I used to explore a lot of international moots and ADR competitions. And that's how I actually sparked my interest there. And luckily, in my second year of law school, I had a corporate internship at a law firm, at a good law firm. I never liked the work, and it was a very disappointment. It was a big disappointment for me. So my career trajectory started right after my second year of law school, when I actually aligned my internships into dispute resolution only. I never did any transactional work or into any other kind of work. I focused myself into interning under senior counsels, under dispute resolution departments of law firms, and I aligned my CV accordingly into that particular field. Wrote a lot of papers into that field, participated in extracurricular activities, which could give the potential recruiters and the industry a taste of what my experience lies and where my interest lies. So in the end, it's all about aligning your CV and your career trajectory to your interests. And by no means, by no means it means that you need to be ready and you need to know what you need to do after you graduate. There are a lot of people who are constantly pressurized by this fact, and of course that is not important. What is important is that you keep exploring, you keep learning, and you keep growing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tushar. Thanks for this amazing conversation and sharing your experience with us. And thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you liked this episode. I hope you learned something. And if you did, do share this episode with all your friends and check out our other episodes available here. Thank you.